Okay, and here we are.
This is the way a podcast begins.
This is the way a podcast begins.
We just start it, right?
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Dead's Not Dead, a new podcast that we have no idea exactly how it's going to pan out.
Zero idea, and I'm psychic. I have no idea how this is going to roll.
I'm not even sure why I'm here.
I do.
Oh, okay.
So, just to have a basis of who everyone at the table is, my name is Chris Soucy. I am the owner of the Savannah Paranormal Museum. I am a lifelong paranormal enthusiast. I am more in the field of folklore and ghosts than I am in other fields, but that is kind of where my wheelhouse is. And I'll pass it over to Brian.
I am Brian, a psychic medium. Brian, my wife and I own Savannah Psychics, Mystic Apothecary, and that's what I do. I can read people and their futures and past and connect with spiritual beings that have stepped over, either have stepped over or that are on another plane.
And I'm Justin. I'm the curator of the Savannah Paranormal Museum, and I am relatively new to paranormal things.
Yes.
I was going to say, yeah. Were you feeling a spirit over there?
No, I was making sure we were recording. There came a point at which I was like, oh, wouldn't this be funny if we're just talking to a camera that's not even on?
This is a good test run.
It is a test run. So this is the first episode, and what was intriguing about the process was Brian and I got to talking about how we would like to basically record for posterity the conversations that we have that get very heady and esoteric. There's all kinds of hidden knowledge that we talk about, all kinds of little dark avenues and shadows that we explore. And the thing about it is we can get very entrenched. So we need someone who will kind of signal to us that we are no longer in an area where people could make sense of what we're talking about. We need somebody who can say, I don't understand that, could you explain it? Or at the very least, equate it to something that is not found in some ancient text or some obscure folklore or some psychic plane or things of that nature, because as we talk, we realize that our habit of talking, it gets to a point where we just sort of like nod and agree on a lot of things without,
that is true.
Without
That's
even
true.
further
Yep.
explanation, because we've already stumbled upon, oh yes, I understand, oh I know that. And that will exclude anyone who's listening who doesn't share.
That's why I'm here.
Yep.
I am come in. You've heard of an idiot savant, and I am halfway there.
Yes.
And I love the name Justin, by the way.
Thank you.
I like it for what we're doing because you could also bring a little clarity by saying this just in. This just in, guys. This just in, right here. So, no, sorry.
That
that's
Justin.
horrible. That Justin.
Not this Justin. Oh,
That's
well,
right.
I guess it is this Justin.
This
It
Justin.
is. It depends
As
on-
opposed to other Justin.
It depends on who's saying it.
Could be any Justin.
That's right.
But it's not. It's this Justin.
So we're going to talk
Sorry.
about why Dead's Not Dead. Why that name?
Well, actually, that was whenever you start a podcast, and if you know me at all, you know I've started podcasts. I have many podcasts, and I probably subjected you to them. Megan loves to say that starting a podcast is the modern equivalent of starting a band. When people are like, hey, we should start a band, so we should start a podcast.
Yep.
And the more we talk about like what it's going to look like, or how do we come upon like names and things like that, Brian and I were sitting around sort of brainstorming, what would it look like? What is it about? And how do we express what we're trying to achieve in a title? And one of the things that we really want to talk about is sort of creating a bridge between psychic phenomenon and just everyday life. Because people don't really completely understand what it means. I have multiple questions about it, but one of the things that we kind of stumbled upon was that when people communicate through mediums, when a spirit on the other side communicates through mediums, they're still involved in the world. They're still involved in the lives that they are, family, loved ones, things like that. And the phrase Brian basically said was, "Dead's not dead." When you're dead, it doesn't mean what we think it means. It doesn't mean the end. It doesn't mean being cut off or separated. And I think that there's a beautiful calming sensation to the notion that when people die and when we say goodbye to them, that it's not the final word and it's not the final notion.
I've had many people that have crossed over come through, and the loved one I'm talking to will say, "Yeah, well, they died on this day," and they immediately respond, "I'm not dead." And I'm like, "They're not. They're still here. They hear you. They feel you. They see you." Not in the way that you probably want them to, but they're not dead, and they say that often. I get that a lot. So,
which is fascinating in itself, because I think the thing is, it's semantics.
yeah,
We use dead to talk about functions. The functions of the body have ceased, but not the functions of the spirit.
that's true.
All the mechanisms have turned off, but not the purpose. And that's something that we talk about a lot. Actually, me and Justin just had a long conversation about the difference between science and magic is really just about what answer you're trying to get.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get to an answer of why, science will give you, well, how. If you're trying to get to the answer of how, science will give it to you. But if you're looking for the answer why, you should seek out magic or
I love that.
Something.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, all right, let's. I got a question.
Okay.
You're over at the Paranormal Museum a lot, right?
Yes.
An awful lot.
Yes.
Probably too much. Do you believe?
Yes, I believe. I have no evidence as of yet, but I am open to it. I believe enough that I bought an iron ring. This is my proof that I believe. I bought an iron ring that I wear to the museum because spirits don't like iron. So the belief is there. I mean, I have conversations. They're a little one-sided, but I have conversations with Emeraldine and some of the other items that we have in the artifacts. I come in and I'm like, "Good morning, everybody." The belief is there.
Mm-hmm. But the beauty of it is Justin has a great practicality, and the practicality is part and parcel why he's the perfect candidate for being a curator. Is I can get carried away. If you leave me alone in that building long enough, I will be in the fetal position in a corner somewhere, because I've extrapolated a lot of experiences. Even today, I was at the museum waiting on the fire alarm inspector to show up, and I was like, "What's that sound? What was that? What is that? What's going on?
Yeah,
What's happening?" And this is a fascinating thing. That specific brand of anxiety makes you a clearer target to spirits to present themselves, because you're looking, you're open, you're so open. And because I am not constantly safeguarding my anxiety over these things, I'm actually expanding it. I'm letting it grow. And Justin is quick to be like, it's probably, or it is, or having a list of explanations that are not supernatural in origin, which I believe is why so many people don't have paranormal experience, is because we were raised to logic out a lot of things, and we so it's like closing doors. When a spirit is trying to present itself and you close a door in its face, it's like, well, do I want to waste the energy opening that door?
Right.
If there's only going to be another door closed, So I think spirits are looking for people who have a natural propensity, a natural openness to present themselves.
Yeah, if you're open and gifted, they will find you.
I was in the museum by myself the other day, and I heard something fall. And so I went and searched for whatever fell. I never found whatever fell. And my response to that was,
It probably got back up.
Yeah.
I just went, and then went on my day.
And that is not the response that a spirit wants.
No,
A
they want
spirit
you.
doesn't want you to shrug it off.
Spirits.
Yeah, they want you to pay attention. And that attention, I think, is crucial to a spirit's well-being because it anchors them to this plane. It gives them, energy to continue on. And so I am an all-you-can-eat buffet for spirits. Spirits will show up and they'll make the smallest sound, and I'm like, "What was it? It was a ghost. It's come from hell. It's chasing me." And the ghost is like, "Yeah, I'll bring it." Nom, 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 nom.
Yeah. Well, I've been over there many times. Jen and I have come over there. We've done seances over there.
They are mentioned many times in the museum because anytime we are in trouble or we feel threatened, we call them.
And we noticed yesterday, or not yesterday, but a couple of days ago, you had a moment.
Yes.
Actually, JT had a moment over there.
JT had a moment. And it was, and it's one of those things because a lot of times, by the character of the person who has an experience,
always
you can gauge how serious it is because JT, there are certain aspects to JT. One is he would never bother to fake anything. He doesn't, he lives a very on the rails life. And so if something knocks him off the rails, it's something. It was something significant. It was something that was out of his purview, out of his comfort zone, and he addresses it directly. And the other one is, he generally doesn't run. He doesn't, when something happens, he's quick to try to explain it or fix it or at the very least catch it. He wants it to be something that he could prove and show and replicate. In the instance that he seemingly was attacked, he quickly and it's on. We have a video of it. He quickly locked it in on the video, but he also ran. He left. He didn't.
Oh, he noped on out of there.
And he has not been back.
And what I love about it is he doesn't just run, guys. So he's on his laptop. He turns and he thinks he experiences something. He's not sure what it is. He turns back to go back to his laptop, and then whatever attack it is that happens, I mean, he flips and just grabs his stuff, and then he runs.
Yeah. Right.
So at first, I think he was experiencing something. I think he was trying to figure out what was going on.
He expressed, and when you listen to it, when you look at the video and you listen to it, so he heard what sounded like a man coughing.
So that's why he turns.
So he turns and he's looking around. Then he feels what seemed to be a punch to his spine between his shoulder blades that launches him forward into our counter, leaving a bruise on his rib and scratches along his midsection.
Oh, man.
He has a lot of physical damage that is visible, and then he grabs his computer.
But
he nopes
you
out
notice what he did? He turns his back on it.
Yes.
See, and there we go.
His back on.
He said, "Oh,
he's not giving the attention."
I heard a cough, nothing.
Right.
Turned back around. If he would have just kept talking or trying to communicate, I bet it would have gone a little differently.
Maybe we're experiencing a new dynamic in the museum as far as that's concerned. We have this interesting thing. We had a pretty famous TikToker by the name of Rebecca, the Ghost Guide, and she has a spirit guide, and she practices a mediumship that takes her all around the country. She came in and she identified a large shadow figure in Emeraldine's room.
And that was the first time anybody had ever done so.
Yes, exactly. Especially with this brand of certainty and exposure. And then before she put out on her socials, before she put together her video about the shadow figure, our guests started experiencing a shadow figure. They started sensing and seeing and having these experiences, and especially in Emeraldine's room, they were having these moments. We had a day where 6 separate, not connected people claimed illness, like a sudden, urgent stomach ache in that room. That we had to quickly escort them to the restroom because they were feeling this. We had a family who claim up and down that they saw a shadow figure lunging from the corner, this exact same corner that Rebecca said the spirit was in, lunging across the room, causing them to literally scream and run from the room. And these are all new, because we're kind of accustomed to patterns. There are patterns to every spirit that we're familiar with. This one, I almost feel like either Rebecca dropped it off. It was.
That is
she was
fair.
dragging it around with her, and,
Yeah.
and this was a place where it had purchase. It could hold on here and present itself because the energy was right for it, and she called it out, or because she was able to give it its form, it was now more solid than it ever had been before. Because that's something too that I think people don't realize about spirits and their definition, and like how defined they can become. Because it sometimes, if a very gifted person can see them, they can present themselves more because they are getting feedback. Right. Because in many cases a psychic medium can be like a mirror, because the psychic medium is seeing what the spirit had long forgotten about themselves.
That is so much information right there. That's right. And we haven't been over there in a long time. Jen and we need to come over there again and just do a little more. We haven't experienced the shadow figure and the...
I've often wondered this too.
The attention.
Because there's a part of me... because there has, like the previous owners did talk about a shadow figure, or even a doppelganger-ish, like spirit of spirit that would like mimic people and show up like other people. Yeah,
I didn't know.
So the show, they had several instances where they like thought Maddie was in the back because they could see her in her nightgown costume, but Maddie wasn't even in the building. And then there was one where, and we should talk to Leafy about this, but Leafy had an experience where he was dressed as the hag, and he was under the bed waiting for his entrance, and he looked across, like under the feet of everyone else, and saw the exact same costume, that mask, crawling through the people towards him. Yeah, can you imagine? But and there's a lot of cases where that team, and of course that team, fascinatingly, were reenacting ghost stories from Savannah.
Insane.
And then they were having these experiences, and that is kind of that interesting, like, are you building ghosts? Are you feeding them a certain amount of information that they are reflecting, and they're trying to be reflective?
That's the whole big question.
Yeah.
What is a spiritual being? What is a ghost? Are there different types, and what are those types? And are we seeing the same thing? Are we making them? Are we creating them? Or is it both? Which I believe it's both. I think people can create.
To a great deal, yeah.
But I also know some spiritual beings will behave the way they think you want them to be.
Absolutely, because it's engaging. Because you'll engage them.
But those aren't human spiritual beings. That's the trick. Human spiritual beings will always be who they were, give or take a little less crabbiness. I mean, seriously, I've had so many people cross over and come to me and say to their loved one, "There's no politics here."
Yeah.
And apparently that was their whole world.
That's a dream. Right, yeah.
And it's like, none of that matters here. But we've had other spiritual beings come into the room that are not technically human. They feel it, they act like it, but they will behave in certain manners. Sometimes they'll show themselves for their natural self. But we've dealt with some that are just changing all the time.
Absolutely. And, I do have, like, theories on... the limits of human existence after death. Because I do believe that after a certain amount of time, when there's no one left, no family members left, or no one in the direct line that they can influence or show to, like if I showed up to, my great-great-great-grandchild and they saw me, would they know it was me? Would they know that it's great-grandpa Chris? Or would they just see this man there? And I think that there's a part where those definitions, like, if you show up continuously in a place and it's like, that's the ghost of Uncle Paul, there's Uncle Paul, but then the families move and there's a new person there and they just see a man and they're like, it's a man. I think Uncle Paul starts to lose the distinction of what made him Uncle Paul, because he's just a man now.
If he doesn't go with him, right. If he doesn't travel with, right.
Over time, it's just, because I think that there's a contingent of shadow people, or shadow beings, that are just people who've lost their definition. Over time, they just become figures. They just become the man in the corner or the figure in the corner, and they no longer have the features that identify them. But if you wanted to identify, if you see a shadow in the figure and you're like in the corner and you're like, oh, it's the devil, that shadow's like, I could be the devil.
Now,
I could do
possibly.
what because
I like that.
I do
That's
think
interesting.
would you think then that, say, Uncle Paul becomes this nameless man to people? Would that sometimes make that into a malevolent spirit?
Absolutely.
Because he's frustrated about losing identity and stuff?
And I almost believe this a little bit more based on what I do. Okay,
Yeah, of course.
So
Yeah.
when someone, this is what I've unwound over 40 some odd years. When someone crosses, when you die, and you go through a process. There's no time limit. I noticed it's about 5 or 6 months before you can actually come through clearly to a medium. There's a lot of people that say that they puddle jump, they show up in your dream, they tell you things, and that's a great start. That happens in the beginning. After that 5, 6, 7 month mark, unless it's like a murder or a suicide, which lasts longer, that process is a lot longer for some reason, then they're able to do what they want. They're free to come see mediums. They can show up at your bedside. What I have noticed over time, I'll have people that are super out in the lineage, like your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather shows up. You don't know who he is.
Right.
But he goes to me, tell him we've got the same nose and the same eyes. There's something about this. And he goes, I love seeing that. That's my lineage.
That's very cool.
And it's cool because then you go, wow, that's cool. He's really talking about features. And the person sitting always says, yeah, that's my dad's side. You're right. That's the trait.
That's fantastic.
And they get excited. But over time, I've noticed that houses and buildings and land normally aren't haunted.
Right.
It's the people. So if they move, and Uncle Paul's been showing up a lot, and they move, and a new family moves in, I believe it's not just one spirit, just Uncle Paul hanging out with that family. There's all these other weird entities that exist that go, well, Uncle Paul was here, that worked, let's be Uncle
There's
Paul.
an Uncle Paul shaped hole.
And then they pretend, and it freaks the family out, and then they hear stories, well, yeah, their Uncle Paul would come through. So sometimes you'll get a name, the lady in white, and she would be like, oh, I am but the lady in white was really someone's grandmother, who is now, she's crossed over, she's no longer dealing with it, she's not being a human spirit, she doesn't need to be, everyone's over there. Right. She got her family, so she's good. Sometimes they'll come visit the lineage, but not all the time, and I think there are the entities that mimic what people know that landscape to be haunted with.
Sure. Well, and because that's the interesting thing. Because I always say, people are more likely to be haunted than houses.
Yes.
That is a given. However, there's a resonance to buildings. There's an energy pattern to them.
Oh, you're right.
And in so many ways, people experience, and that's where residual haunting versus intelligent haunting. Is it an active ghost as a former person, or is it the energy of a person who had occupied a space? And their energy has been basically recorded by the space, and the space holds it in check and in place. And there are people who believe that with residual hauntings, with the 3:00 at night every time, every October 17th, the spirit, because it's just a recording, right? It's a recording that's playing over and over again, but through concentrated effort, if the recording is there's enough, manifestation material to make it more communicative. You can actually try to, reach out.
With that.
And I think, and then comes all these interesting, side notes of, well, what are these other energies and these other entities? What happens when you have, our expectations are like little glass jars that we carry with each other, right? And then, you go to a place and there's an energy there, and you have an expectation of, this, hourglass shape. And the spirit goes into the hourglass shape, and that's what you see. You see the expectation, the hourglass shape, because that interaction is invaluable to non-corporeal beings. Non-corporeal beings need definition, right? They long for it. And so it comes to pass over and over again, because a lot of people, we talk about demons a lot. I don't believe in demons in the way that it's not the fallen angel concept. It's not, but I do believe that humans, when they die and they are obsessive and they can't empathize or sympathize, their behaviors can be malevolent. Because they're singular in their pursuit, which means that they wouldn't care if you got hurt on their way to getting what they want. And the saddest thing is, in many cases, what they want is impossible. They can't achieve it, but their obsession is so strong that they're willing to let people suffer so that they can get that thing, whatever it is, whether it be revenge or love, because it could be a positive thing they want, but they've just given up all empathy, all sympathy. They refuse to acknowledge that other people have a right to their existence because their desire for the thing they want is so high that they'll cut through anybody who stands in their way, or any obstacle they have.
Like Gollum.
Like Gollum. Yeah, my precious.
That's interesting. That's very interesting, right? Now, I don't believe in demons the way America has created them in the horror movies. I mean, they're very cool looking. It's fun to dress up in Halloween or cosplay to be a demon or whatever. But all those looks and stuff come from a unique form of knowledge and heritage that I think Christianity came in and took that and said, let's make that be our devils.
Oh, sure.
And so, which were once good things are now these negative things.
They are the other.
Exactly, the other. You look up the word demon in the dictionary, it just says a spiritual being. And that is true. It is a spiritual being. What kind? I've seen one possession in my life that was real. And I'll tell you, I know it was real, and if I told you the story, it's a very long story, but I had never believed that possession was a real thing. Is it a demon that did it? I only have biblical text to look at that reinforce my thought on that. But I will tell you that the person that I saw that was not behaving the way they were a way better psychic medium than myself. They knew way too much about me.
Oh, wow.
And I had only met them for 5 seconds. And they enjoyed making me become emotional by saying certain words.
Oh, sure.
And I was like, where is this? What is this? And I was with a couple of exorcists at the time, and they told we were going to film it. And they said, leave. This is a real one. So we had been filming a lot of people, that were having, problems with their medications. That's really what it came down to. Every time they would go into the medicine cabinet first and go, who's taking this stuff?
Right. And that's just it, because there's a very good argument for the placebo effect of an exorcism.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Because in many cases, like even medicine doesn't address a lot of the strain on the individual.
You're right.
And so when you come in with this reinforced idea, something that is ingrained in them from their ritualistic upbringing, even if they're not religious, they know and understand the authority of the church in a society,
right?
And that cuts through their insecurities about whatever their position is, mentally, and there's a lot to be said about being administered to this way, to having people go through the ritual and having the
exactly
the incense burning and the Latin being spoken and the cross being held out. All of that pageantry, all of that theater, is for the individual to overcome the corruption of their ideas, and I think medication oftentimes just dulls down the decision-making faculties.
I agree with that.
And so then you find yourself having already succumbed to some darkness or something, and now you are stuck without the ability to make a decision, because the medication you're on has put you in a state where you're okay with that presence in your life. And then along comes, a man fully dressed up in a God-fearing costume with every trapping that you understand, whether you're a part of the faith or not.
Exactly.
You are, you know it. It's the same with the Ouija board. I don't think there's anything inherently evil about a Ouija board. However, I do believe that you are highly susceptible to certain assaults because of your psyche, because of what we've already been told, because of everybody's familiar with the story and understands these things because we were introduced to those ideas, and they are just a part of our zeitgeist. They're a piece of our legend and folklore, our personal folklore. And so when you do this, you are, again, you have a certain shaped vessel in your mind, a demon-shaped vessel that the smoke goes into. And now you look at it and you're like, well, that's obviously a demon. It's like, well,
Exactly.
you didn't know you were carrying that around. You didn't realize that you were being indoctrinated with these ideas.
And then you're free. You're like, oh, that was wonderful. I needed that. You know, it was the devil. You can point fingers at something else.
Oh, yeah.
Until you run into a gentleman that I ran into that obviously there was no crosses and holy water and no Latin that was going to change what we were dealing with.
No, sure.
And
Well,
they stayed there for 3 days. These are 2 exorcists, stayed there for 3 days. And straight. They stayed the night, overnight. No rest, taking turns. And it was a Tuesday when he had called me, and I said, how did it go? And he goes, awful. That's that, man. It's there, and there's nothing we can do. It's
wow.
going to kill this man.
Yeah.
And it killed him.
So this is a fascinating. I actually had, so someone actually came to the museum today. We're closed, and we had a long conversation about just this thing because this is where we get like in trouble.
We've only just got, this is episode 1. We're in trouble now.
Well, because my thoughts on it are that it's all faith, right? You are battling faith for faith, and it doesn't matter what your faith is. It doesn't matter if you're Muslim, Catholic, Jewish. The tenets of your faith are what you're using to battle these entities. And what people tend to forget is that these entities have faith too. And so it's not just your faith. You have to outfaith these entities.
There you go.
And
That's
if the entity
amazing.
has a
That's
stronger
amazing.
faith, if that entity, and that entity has different information than we do, so its faith is more solid than makes sense for us because it has other side of the veil information.
There you go. It has other side of the veil information,
Right. And so
we
then
don't.
They're calling upon a faith, and that's why we assign priests to be excluded from society because they're developing their faith tools, their faith weapons. That's why we have the holy men, the shamans. They have given up being a part of the community shoulder to shoulder so that they can take on the burden of having strong faith, of having a faith strong enough to face down the quote-unquote demon. But even the most powerful and faithful exorcists will at some point reach an entity whose faith is greater. And that faith is oftentimes greater because of that information.
Right.
Because their access to information is greater than all the study that anybody had put into their faith or their practice. All of the trappings that go with it, the antiquity of the cross that they're carrying, the rosaries that come from Rome, having all of these trappings that gave them more and more faith in their process, they come against something that's got ancient faith, that's got resounding faith that goes beyond it, and those entities exist. And oftentimes they don't need to resort to possession, right? Because their existence is secured through their faith.
So, and I know I'm going to say something weird. So trying to get into the mind of an entity that wants to possess a person, a human being, okay? I know it's like trying to say, can you think like God? So what is their point? Because it doesn't make the news. It doesn't get out very far. Very few people learn about it. And they do end up killing the host that they're in.
So my... I always want to preface any time that I speak that these are just theories.
Yes,
these are just observations.
These
are just like having seen cases and been involved in things and knowing the generalized storylines. The idea that I come across in possession cases is that the point of a spirit trying to possess a person is all about and we use the word corruption, is the corruption of the person, is the forcing the person to embrace or take on and make decisions, because it's all about these choices. They wear you down. They exhaust you. They haunt you. They make it seem like you don't have a choice, but they need you to embrace it. And a part of this is because, and I stand by this in everything that I believe as far as this is concerned, that the human being is an incalculable vessel of power. That our ability to create and our ability to, facilitate universes worth of energy. If a spiritual being can control our destinies, if they can come into our lives and make us make the decisions that are most detrimental to us, that they can force our hand into this corruptible position, which I think many religions had been like, oh well, it's sin. It's about temptation, and I do think that that's kind of the trick. It's a misnomer because they're like, oh, the devil will tempt you.
Sure.
It's like it kind of is. It's trying to make a case for their own dominance, their own position in a universe, because we're celestial beings trapped in meat bags.
100%.
And when a entity can penetrate through the meat bag, get to the celestial, entity,
I love that.
it is demonstrating a level of power. So I think that, and because it all comes down to how are we talking about this? What does it mean? I think that there might be some kind of ascension protocol for entities.
Yeah, I agree with
and
that.
that in order to ascend, they must prove their ability or exercise their abilities. They have to manifest their existence as a force to be reckoned with, as a force in the universe. And the way they do that is through human manipulation.
It's interesting. I can tell you, I met a brain surgeon a long time ago. It's weird. I knew he was a brain surgeon, had gone over to hang out. He wanted me to go down in the basement and get some, he homebrewed his own beer. Went down there, grabbed some beer, and noticed down in the basement on all the shelves all the way around this very big basement were brains, all in jars and in slices and all that stuff. And I'm like, he keeps it in his basement, right? So I'm coming up holding these beers. Here's the beer. Tell me about the brain. I'm very curious. And he said, he goes, that's interesting. He said, my whole life I've been an atheist. He goes, there is no God. He goes, just it doesn't make any sense. He goes, what I'm having a problem with these days in the past 10 years is if we've sliced the brain, we've diced it, we can't make heads or tails out of what it is. He goes, I believe that our memories and our feelings aren't here, because I believe they're up here somehow, and this is a conduit between the body, and so all the weird things happen up here. He goes, and I'm trying to figure out how does that work. And he goes, and I know I'm retired, and I'm brewing my own beer and stuff, but he goes, I'm still trying to figure it out. He goes, it makes me want to believe in God. He just has a hard time with it.
I actually have a theory on that, and and it comes to a point of trying to figure out certain aspects of ghosts and hauntings. And the easiest explanation that I've been able to stumble across is, this is the hardware, this is the computer, this is the iPhone.
Okay.
That is the cloud.
Oh, yeah.
All of our experiences are stored in the cloud. To access it, we have to have the hardware. We have to have the iPhone. The iPhone attaches to the cloud.
Sense. I believe
and then
that.
all of our experiences are uploaded into the cloud. And in many cases, all hauntings is the compatibility of your iPhone with someone else's cloud.
Oh, wow.
That's your cool. Ability to access the cloud information. Because one of the things that always bugged me is when I watch any spirit existence, that talks about things that happened after their death. Because the question then becomes, well, what was the tool? What was the, because we know that this is the information gathering function. When you die, we know that the brain shuts off. We know that the eyes no longer work. We know that, all the senses have been, wiped from this world. So what's feeding the cloud? If you've got a ghost and you walk into a room and the ghost is like, hey, Chris. And it's like, how do you know my name? If I didn't exist in your life and it didn't go up into your cloud, how do you know my name?
Well, they're connecting with your cloud,
Well, that's
obviously.
just it. Now I'm saying, it's either the case of a piggyback ghost that has been following you around and has access to you and can communicate with you, and now you are more likely to be haunted in the house.
True.
So now your ghost is being able to speak to you because the Wi-Fi is stronger in certain places, right?
Right.
Or that that cloud information is getting updated by people who are close enough. So there's the cosmic consciousness idea, the fact that spirits don't move around because they don't have eyes, they don't have mouths, they don't have brains. If they don't have those things, what is mechanically moving the spirit around? It's because it was uploaded into the cloud, and that persona and personality can access information and can.
So my iPhone is on airplane mode.
That is absolutely 1,000% true. That's what I think. I think that there's a lot of people who run around with either outdated software, whose phones are on airplane mode, who use analog phones. There's so many ways to make that analogy work with the idea. Well, why are some people more susceptible than other people? It's like, well, some people paid for the unlimited plan, and other people only paid for exactly. I only get
and I've got
20 G's a year. Exactly. And right. I think that as far as an analogy goes, that one makes it easy to make the conversation, because then it does come down to, well, why do some people have such clear and salient information from the spirit realm? And it's like, well, because they're more connected, right? I'm using a Nokia brick phone. I'm not,
right.
I'm limited in what I can and cannot. And some people are Androids, and some people are iPhones, and there's that weird contingent of people who stay in a very analog world where they're able to avoid the spiritual world in its entirety. And I almost fear that there are people who don't connect to the cloud at all in their lifetime.
I agree with that. I'm not looking at you.
No, I understand.
Sorry, you just happened. I just was like,
well, this
one.
They're trying to access the cloud from a landline.
Exactly. Well, I think that there are people, and it sounds so weird because I stumbled upon an idea that there's such things as long lives and short lives. That there's such a thing as lives that go on and on and on, and there are people who are just here for the one-time ride. They're here to experience things very, very, like non-playable characters, NPCs. They're here not to influence all these other things, but to populate.
You're definitely stepping into a weird world.
With
this concept, by the way.
Dead's not dead, by the way.
Because I'm sitting there going, I know where we can take this. This is probably another episode, though.
Absolutely. Well, and it's funny because this is an introductory episode,
right?
And I feel like we went really far and deep.
Well, and it's good. I think people need to know who we are, and why are we doing this? I don't know. We do this every day naturally. Why don't we do it for you?
It comes down to the fact that sometimes we say things, and I know, right when we say it, I wish I had a recording of it, or I wish I had written that down. Because every now and then we'll stumble upon. Because I can tell you right now, a lot of this is so off the cuff that I will not remember that I said it. I will not remember that I stumbled across that idea or that notion. Some of these things are, my personal philosophies that I've created over time. But a lot of this is plugging them together because the conversation
Exactly.
takes us there.
Yeah, and it's fun, and I like the several different versions of where we're all coming from. Like,
Right.
Even the three of us here, I didn't mean to be a psychic medium. Like, I swear to God, that was not my plan at all. I highly doubt you planned on being where you're at with the paranormal and research you've been doing. And I know you had no clue that you were going to be doing this.
Nope.
And then there you are. And now we're all in it, and people are dropping off, evil clowns. And and we're having to deal with repercussions.
And I get hexed and have to walk a line on the road.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and intriguingly, something that that we really didn't cover was that Justin actually comes from a pretty fundamentally Christian background. Like, in his youth, he has all of the sort of tenets of that fundamentalist Christian ideology, which, as a backdrop for paranormal, is solid, because it shows you how an entire community can embrace an ideology that is wild.
Towards the latter part, I was in an evangelical church, which is just right there, smack up against believing in ghosts and spirits and things like that.
Well, yeah,
and they're talking in tongues.
Right,
and,
exactly,
that kind of stuff.
and that conditions you to be forgiving of people's experiences. Because one of the hardest things for anyone to do is report to another living being that something inexplicable occurred, that something strange had happened to them.
Yep.
The catchphrase is, "You're going to think I'm crazy." And there's nothing more tragic than the fact that
that was almost the name of this show.
Yeah, it's very true.
That's my favorite part of working at the museum. I love being a safe place to people who are outcasts or whatever. So I love it when somebody goes, if I told anybody else about this, they wouldn't believe me, but I know I can tell you. That's so cool.
It is so cool. It's amazing, because the catharsis that you give a person who has a story, especially because we do deal with a lot of people who are already like knee deep into it and devote their time and energies to it, but oftentimes we will get that random guy who has that story that he doesn't tell, that he won't tell. We have a police officer who has frequented the place just to be in the company of people
to tell the
who
stories.
listen to him without the fear of judgment, without the fear of being like, oh, you're going to think I'm crazy. It's like, no, we're not, because we afford you the luxury to your experience, to honoring that you have this experience. And even at the very base, let's say you were lying. Let's say you just made this story up. The way we approach that is, there's a reason you're telling us.
Oh, that's true.
Regardless
That's true.
of the significance of the event, the significance of you telling us should be honored. We should embrace the idea that you chose this time and place, you chose us to share this experience, true or not, and then we can furnish you with counters and ideas and embrace the notion that you've given us. And it's amazing how often people will tell us stories that they think cannot be ever understood or appreciated, and then we get to say, we've heard something similar, or I know a story that reminds you, or according to folklore, this is what you've experienced. Being able to draw that upon people, it's amazing to watch that relief wash over them.
Right.
That we're not laughing at them, or that we're not,
It's great.
knee-jerk reacting in a that's impossible situation. Because cards on the table, some people come and say things that I can't fathom, that I don't have anything but that seems utterly impossible. But I can't discount that person's experience.
We do that the same here. We get people that come up here with, they're in their own belief pattern. They believe that they are a fairy.
Right.
We don't say, no, you're not. There's so much that I've experienced. I can't say no.
Right.
I am more interested how.
Exactly. Yes.
I would tell me more. Or I'm having sex with Thor.
Right.
And that's their thing. and that's where they get their information. I go, wow, that's extraordinary. And so is that benefiting you? And usually whatever they're telling me, it's not.
No, it's
like,
not.
You would think they would, they're telling it with excitement, wanting someone to go, wow, you're amazing, and I know. But then I want to know, is that working for you? Are your expectations, is that what you want? And usually they end up going, not really. And I'm like, wow, well, that's why we get readings. Well, let's look at this. Let's see if we can't figure out what's going on.
And that's a fascinating pattern throughout.
Yeah.
Because there is a notion that in all of it, we talk about spirits desperate to connect with us. The idea of loved ones who have gone on, desperate to connect with us, entities that are non-human entities, desperate to connect to us for that energy, for that power. But there's also, we're desperate to connect to each other.
Yes.
And if I'm saying that a spirit connecting to us feeds and nourishes the spirit, then I believe that when I connect with my friends, I'm feeding and nourishing, and being fed and nourished, because the argument doesn't work. My thesis is broken if the same doesn't apply to the living as it does to the dead. If the dead require attention from humans to continue their vibrancy and their life, I believe that we need attention
100%.
from other humans
to do the same.
And to do the same.
Yeah.
And that also brings into account all these ideas of, well, what about introverts? What about loners and hermits and things like that? It's like, it's possible that they have either more advanced modalities, that they need less connection because they are self-powerful. They have reached a level of enlightenment or a level of self-care. Or that their engines run differently than everyone else's.
Yep.
Or that they're miserable.
Or
it could be that they want that attention.
Yeah, or they're starving.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or they don't
through
have,
any fault of their own.
They don't have an
but
iPhone at all.
Yeah, they don't even have an iPhone.
They lost it.
Yeah.
There's just no phone.
No phone.
That's true. Well, that's probably a great way to wrap this up. I like how we talk about, the people that have crossed over, the entities, the beings wanting to connect with us, and what we offer at the museum and here at Mystic Apothecary, we offer a connection with us in a very natural, in a natural world, talking about the spiritual side. I think it's pretty awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, we have donuts here. We have donuts so we don't get a 1-star review, but I'll explain that later.
Yeah.
We should.
I'll partake in
have
a
donut here at least.
They are. If you're only listening to this, if this is on an audio thing, these are very cartoony looking donuts.
Yeah.
They literally look like they could have come out of an anime.
They're actually really good.
Oh, they are really good donuts.
They are Target donuts.
So, they're fantastic.
This is not an ad for Target at all, but
Right on target.
But very good.
No.
But seriously, go by, check out Savannah Paranormal Museum.
And check out the
Chris
Savannah
and Justin.
Psychics.
Yep.
Brian and Jen.
Jen and I here. Jen is great. She's from her upbringing was spiritual church as well. They're a little different than evangelicals. They do believe in prophecy and so when we go to a church, people don't call us psychic; they call us prophetic.
Yeah.
Which is I think it's a little. Ego for me. Wow.
Sure,
It's fascinating because there is a whole line of belief, because that's actually the Catholics do not believe in psychic phenomenon. They believe in prophecy. They believe that if you are seeing the future and it is correct, it is either from divine, the divine has tapped you and you're a prophet, or satanic, or the devil, because
depending on the
probably one of my
message.
favorite stories that I ever heard was a man explaining that a man who believed in fallen angels, fully invested in the notion of the war in heaven and the revolt in heaven and all of that stuff. But what he was stating was that all demons were once angels, and when God created the universe, he basically showed the plans. All angels know everything that's going to happen. So the ones that fell and became demons, they know what's going to happen. They have that knowledge. They have the ability to share that knowledge. Right. Angels are forbidden to show the future to anyone but a prophet. But devils can just show up in a tarot deck. And they could show up, they could show up on a Ouija board and be like, "You want to know what happens tomorrow?" And that becomes like this fascinating storyline. And because I'm a story collector, that's what really drew me to his story, was this notion that the future is not really for us. The future is a game for other entities to contend with. We have a hard enough time navigating now.
Right. That's crazy. Well,
all right,
guys, thanks for listening, I guess. I guess we're going to end this one. We'll probably do another one. It's just us talking about weird stuff. If you have any questions, you can probably put them in the comments if there are a comment place. Oh, this is what we got TikTok, probably other social media. Who knows? We haven't planned this out yet.
This is day one, and we've almost solved all the world's problems. So
we talked about all of them. So. All right. Well, till next time.
Till next time.
I like the salute. That was great.